Unlike his brother Simon Peter, who had a tendency to be impetuous, to storm ahead foolishly, and to say the wrong thing at the wrong time, Andrew was calm, reserved, and always seemed to know what to say. Whenever he acted apart from the other disciples, he did what was right. In fact, almost everything the Bible tells us about Andrew shows that he had the right heart for effective ministry in the background. He did not strive to be the center of attention, nor did he seem to dislike those who worked in the spotlight. He was clearly happy to do what he could with the gifts and calling God had given him, and he allowed others to do the same. Andrew first met the Lord when he was a disciple of John the Baptist. Andrew was standing next to John the Baptist on the banks of the Jordan River when Jesus walked by, and John said, "Behold here the Lamb of God." Andrew immediately left John's side and began to follow Jesus. Don't think he was fickle or unfaithful to their mentor. On the contrary, John the Baptist had already said in the clearest and most forthright terms that he was only the forerunner of the Messiah. He had come to prepare the way and point people in the right direction. Therefore, as soon as he heard John the Baptist identify Jesus as the Lamb of God, Andrew immediately and eagerly left John to follow Christ. Almost immediately after Andrew became a disciple of Jesus, he also became an evangelist. He first found his own brother Simon and said to him, "We have found the Messiah," and he brought him to Jesus. The news was too good to keep to himself, so Andrew went looking for the one person in the world whom he loved the most. Andrew must have been fully aware of Simon Peter's tendency to dominate. He must have known well that as soon as Peter entered the company of disciples, he would take charge and Andrew would be relegated to a subordinate status. Yet Andrew brought his older brother with him. That fact alone says a lot about his character. But that was not the only time Andrew brought someone to meet the Messiah. On one occasion, Jesus had gone to a mountain to try to be alone with his disciples. As often happened when he took a break from his public ministry, he was spotted by the crowd. It was almost time to eat, and bread would be the object lesson in the message Jesus would proclaim to the crowd. So he made it clear that he wanted to feed the crowd. But where were they to get bread to feed more than 5,000 people? Philip calculated that even 200 denarii would not be enough to buy food for the crowd. A denarius was a daily wage for an ordinary worker, so 200 denarii would be about 8 months' wages. Not a small amount. It seemed an impossible problem, but that did not stop Andrew from saying something. "There is a boy here who has 5 barley loaves and 2 small fish." Of course, even Andrew knew that 5 barley loaves and 2 little fish would not be enough to feed 5,000 people. But he brought the boy to Jesus anyway. Something in him seemed to understand that no gift is insignificant in the hands of Jesus. Some people don't want to play in the band unless they can beat the big drum. James and John had that inclination. So did Peter. But Andrew didn't. He was more concerned with bringing people to Jesus than with who got the credit or who was in charge. Andrew is exactly the picture of all those who work quietly in humble places, not with an eye as men's servants, but as servants of Christ, doing the will of God from their hearts. Andreas' legacy is the example he left behind to show us that it is often the little things that count, the individual people, the insignificant gifts, and the unobtrusive service. Thank God for people like Andreas. They are the quiet individuals, working faithfully but unobtrusively, giving seemingly insignificant but sacrificial gifts who accomplish the most for the Lord.